we already started biotechnology and its applications, and we completed 7 videos in an order. So actually I started the chapter with animal applications. Now plant applications were there. So we'll start the chapter with the botany part in this session. Okay. So let us start the chapter with biotechnology and its applications. Now let us think, what is biotechnology? Chapter number 11, we have seen who coined the term biotechnology. Karl Erke coined the term biotechnology. Who is father of biotechnology? Who is father of biotechnology? That's a question. So think and post me in the comment box. Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich is the father of biotechnology. Karl Erke coined the term biotechnology. And what is biotechnology? Biotechnology is a modern science. It's a technological science. It essentially deals with industrial scale production. NCERT says the first sentence of the chapter is biotechnology essentially deals with the industrial scale production. What do you mean by industrial scale production? Large scale production. If you are manufacturing a vaccine or a medicine or a drug, so we want to supply it to the whole world, right? So then it should be produced in bulk quantity, means industrial scale production. Of what? Biopharmaceuticals. Earlier, chemical labs used to prepare pharmaceuticals. Those pharmaceuticals, since they are made in labs, they are made up of chemicals. So by taking those medicines again and again, so kidney used to get damaged, liver used to get damaged, and a body is converting into a chemical factory. So after the biotechnology came, with the advent of biotechnology, we were able to prepare biopharmaceuticals, means pharmaceuticals not made of chemicals, pharmaceuticals made of or extracted from living organisms, which are much safer, right? They are extracted from living organisms only. They don't pose any side effects. They will not cause load on the kidney. They will not cause load on the liver. So biotechnology essentially deals with industrial scale production of biopharmaceuticals and biologicals. Biologicals means instead of taking complex vitamin tablet and all, we can take spirulina. It's a biological thing, rich of protein, SCP, single cell protein, that comes under biological. So let me write down the first point, what NCERT says about biotechnology. So it says like, biotechnology essentially deals with small scale production or large scale production. It deals with the large scale, means industrial scale production of what? Industrial scale production of biopharmaceuticals and biologicals. Biopharmaceuticals and biologicals. Now you know what do you mean by biopharmaceutical? I told you, pharmacist, what is available in a pharmacy shop? Medicines, but those medicines are made up of chemicals. Instead, through biotechnology, if you prepare them, they are called biopharmaceuticals, means they are plant derived, animal derived, microorganism derived. They derive from biological sources. They are not harmful. If you want, the examples of biopharmaceuticals are interleukin is one example, interferon is another example, right? We can tell interleukin, interferon, excuse me, human insulin. Earlier, they used to take insulin from animals or some other medicines. Now, this human insulin is how much safe, and it's a boon for people who are suffering with diabetes mellitus. Now, interferon is used in cancer treatment, is used to kill viruses, right? And interleukin will activate the immune system. Interleukins will boost immune cells, or they will boost immune system. And interferons are used in cancer treatment. They are used to kill the virus infected cells. Human insulin used to treat diabetes mellitus. Insulin is used to treat diabetes mellitus. All this comes under biopharmaceuticals. Now coming to biologicals. Biological means, I told, using SCP, spirulina tablets, as a rich source of proteins. So under biologicals, we can take the example of spirulina, which is a rich source of single cell protein. Children, this is the meaning of first sentence of NCERT. for cracking NEET examination, to get 360 out of 360 in NEET examination, you need to understand the sentences of NCERT and then sit and read those NCERT sentences. After NEET exam came, how many books came into market? Master NCERT, line to line of NCERT, NCERT Mastro. So every person, every publisher started publishing the same lines of NCERT. So means you should understand the logic here that you have to read only one book for cracking NEET for biology. That is your whole and soul guide for everything for NEET, related to NEET, that is NCERT textbook. So that's why in my lectures also you find the exact tinge of NCERT, the exact sentences of NCERT, we will keep it and we will try to understand them. Understood? Now, biologicals, we prepare biopharmaceuticals or biologicals. How do you prepare? By using genetically modified organisms. Biopharmaceuticals and biologicals by using, what are we using? Genetically modified plants. Either you can use as a plant as a factory, or we can use animal to manufacture this, or we can use bacteria, or we can use fungi. So where are you manufacturing all these things? We are manufacturing within a plant, in an animal, or in a bacteria, or in an animal, or in a fungi. So these are acting as factories to produce the biologicals, to produce the biopharmaceuticals. Okay. NCERT talks about the next sentence, that applications of biotechnology include. We will also go with the NCERT only. Now the second sentence is applications of biotechnology includes. Amma, what are the applications of biotechnology? Applications of the biotechnology includes therapeutics, diagnostics. Let us list down one by one. The first application is therapeutics. Now, at the time of when a person is diagnosed with a disease, so for treatment, what do we use? It comes under therapeutics, right? So therapeutics like interferon, cancer treatment, it comes under therapeutic. Insulin, treatment of diabetes mellitus, that also comes. So if we have to list down the examples of therapeutics, what should I write here? Again, I can give interferon. Again, I can take human insulin. So the applications of biotechnology are producing therapeutics. Second application is producing diagnostics. Producing diagnostics. So earlier they used to take blood and they have to do serological test to identify whether a person is suffering from a disease or not. But then it is a normal serological test. It takes some time to give the report also, and this much concentration of the pathogen should be there in the body to be diagnosed also. But coming to molecular tools and techniques, using the help of biotechnology, we were able to identify the disease in early stages itself. So then the treatment becomes easy, right? So what are the diagnostic kits which are available in the market? Come on, tell me. Pregnancy kit is there, ovulation kit is there, blood grouping kit is there, HIV detection kit is there, corona detection kit is there. All these are the kits, right? So they come under applications of biotechnology. So if we have to list down the applications of biotechnology, let us write on blood grouping kit is one example. Pregnancy diagnostic kit, is also an application of biotechnology. HIV detection kit. So all these things are helping in diagnosis, right? RT-PCR, which comes under corona detection. RT-PCR test, which comes under corona detection. All these are the applications of biotechnology only. Now the third application of biotechnology, NCERT says genetically modified crops for agriculture. Let me write on, then we will discuss on. Genetically modified crop based agriculture. genetically modified crop based agriculture means we are not going to use the normal plants. We are not going to use the hybrids also. We are going to use a genetically modified crop, transgenic crop in which new genes are there. Examples you want, BT cotton, BT tomato, golden rice, right? All these are the examples of genetically modified crops. So, what are the examples? Shall we write down here? BT cotton. We will discuss it in the next class in detail. How can we produce it? Then BT brinjal. Then golden rice. All these are examples of transgenic crops which are produced by biotechnology only. Then NCERT talks about the fourth application, which is called processed food. The fourth application NCERT says is processed food. What do you mean by this processed food? Now, processed food for children and for infants, we used supplementary food items, right? So, in that we enrich it with folic acid, we enrich it with vitamin A, all those things. So, processed food means for infant feed. We can take it as an example. Then next we can tell bioremediation is also applications of biotechnology. Bioremediation. Now, what do you mean by this bioremediation? So, we bring petrol, crude oil from Gulf, right? How do you bring it? By air, on land, or by water? By water we bring it. So, when we are bringing oil in big tankers, gallons and gallons, the water, when it is moving like this, now those gallons, from there the crude oil will leak out and it comes into the oceans. The crude oil comes out and it's polluting the oceans, it's polluting the sea water, marine water. Now, what happens to the aquatic flora and fauna which are there in the ocean? So, they are suffering with this polluted water bodies. Now, it is our role to clean the environment also. If it is a small patch in your house, you will take a cloth and you will remove that oil. It is an ocean, how will you remove that oil from the ocean water bodies? So, that is called bioremediation. There is a super bug. What is the name of the super bug? Pseudomonas putida. Pseudomonas putida. What is it called? Super bug. A person from Bengal, Chakravarti, has prepared this, or he modified this bacteria, Pseudomonas putida. A bacteria called Pseudomonas putida has an enormous power of clearing the oil spills. This Pseudomonas putida, what it will do? It will clear oil spills from oceans. So, it is cleaning up the environment again, it is cleaning up the marine water body again. So, this comes under bioremediation, and NCERT talks about the next application called waste treatment. Waste treatment. So far, there is no technology which can beat the microbial technology in sewage treatment, right? So, there again we can use little modified microorganisms where the sewage is decomposed at a faster rate. Waste treatment means they are talking about sewage treatment done by microorganisms. It is about sewage treatment done by aerobic, anaerobic, bacteria and fungi. So, we designed robots, we designed machines, so we designed so many things, but we were not able to design any technology for decomposing the sewage which is efficient than the microorganisms. So, for decomposing the sewage, microorganisms are only used. Then the last applications of biotechnology is energy production. The last application in NCERT is energy production. Now, here in energy production, we can talk about biogas production. Methanogenic bacteria, they decompose the waste and from that they give us the gobar gas, right? So, that comes under energy production. Example is biogas production. Now, see, we discussed the first and second sentences of NCERT in this much detailed manner. So, even though it is a 7th or 8th lecture, so we started the chapter because the previous lectures are related to zoological. applications, about SCID we discussed, about human insulin we discussed. Now this is a botany part, right? So we're coming with the first sentence onwards of biotechnology. What is biotechnology? I told biotechnology essentially deals with small scale, industrial scale production of what? Biopharmaceuticals and biologicals. Some examples of biopharmaceuticals, some examples of biologicals. How do you produce it? What do you use? We use genetically modified plant or animal, bacteria or fungi. Now next sentence, NCERT talks about the applications of biotechnology. When we have listed out, we got 7 applications of biotechnology. Biotechnology is used for therapeutic production, for diagnostic production, for modifying crops, for preparing processed foods, and for clearing the oil spills, bioremediation, and for wastewater treatment, and for energy production. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Right, children? Hope you understood till here. Then in NCERT, the third sentence goes like, the 3 critical research areas of biotechnology are, for example, let us take a common thing and let's discuss. For example, if you have to focus on your classes, now you need some serene place where you can sit, read, there is no disturbance, right? Proper lighting is there, proper sitting arrangement is there. Such type of things you need to sit and read your books, right? So in the same manner, through biotechnology, if you want to get a product, so what are the 3 critical research areas we will see, right? The 3 critical research areas of biotechnology are. The 3 critical research areas of biotechnology are, I told you, if you want to sit and study concentratedly, so you need a good place to sit first of all. You need to take your comfort zone, keep your books along with you, see the lighting and all, then you will sit and study. In the same manner, if you want to do a biotechnological process, the first and foremost what you need is a best catalyst, right? A best catalyst, for example, a best tutor who will lead you to crack the NEET examination. In the same manner here also, a best catalyst. What do you mean by best catalyst? An improved organism, a genetically modified organism. Sometimes if you want to convert the substrate into product, that is your product, then you need an enzyme which can convert the substrate into product. That is the first critical area. Then the second one is the optimal conditions, right? Chemical engineering, the optimal conditions which are required for doing the process. That is the second critical area. And the third one is the downstream processing. First one, you need a best tutor. The second one, you need best resources, what and all, books and all, that's the second thing. And the third one is whatever the teachers are teaching you, take it into your mind, read it and then work it on the question paper. Show the marks. In the same manner, the third critical area is downstream processing. Means after doing biotechnological process, we'll collect everything from the bottom and then we start purifying it, right? We start purifying it and then we, with the brand name, we will release it. We'll pack it and we'll release it. So, I think we understood the 3 critical research areas are, what's the first one? Providing best catalyst. What is the second one? Creating optimal conditions for the catalyst to act on. And the third one, downstream processing to purify the product. Let me write down. What is the first critical research area? Providing best catalyst in the form of improved organism. Either we take an improved organism or a pure enzyme. Sometimes we want to cultivate the organism, sometimes we will take an enzyme which can convert the substrate into product. That is our first critical area. The second critical research area is creating optimal conditions. So, creating favorable, optimal means favorable conditions. Creating optimal conditions through, how do you create it? Through chemical engineering. Through chemical engineering. We create optimal conditions through chemical engineering, then only the catalyst can act. For a catalyst to act, for a catalyst to act. Now, what is the third one? The third one is downstream processing. What is downstream processing? Collecting everything from the bottom and purifying it. Let it be a protein or whatever the product is. The third one is downstream processing. Downstream processing. What does downstream processing includes? Purifying the protein or purifying the product. Yes, ma? I think you understood the three critical research areas of biotechnology. Then NCERT talks about what are the applications of biotechnology. In that, the first one is 12.1, where we need to talk about biotechnology applications in agriculture. So this is our chapter number 12. The first point is 12.1. What is that? Biotechnology applications. Biotechnology applications in the field of agriculture we are going to see now. Biotechnology applications in the field of agriculture we are going to see now. How will biotechnology help to improve the agricultural harvest, improve the yield we are going to see now. There are 3 points to be discussed here. The first one, we call it as agrochemical based agriculture. The second one comes as organic farming. And the third one, where exactly biotechnology is involved, is use of genetically modified crop based agriculture. So fast, tell me, what are the 3 things we are going to discuss here? The first one will be agrochemical based agriculture. We are going to see one by one in detail. The second approach to increase the yield will be organic agriculture or organic farming. It is organic farming. And the third one will be genetically engineered crop based agriculture, genetically modified organisms. So that is genetically engineered crop based agriculture. Genetically engineered crop based agriculture. So these are the 3 areas where we can see how to improve the yield. Now let us talk about the first point. What is the first point? Agrochemical based agriculture. Agrochemical based agriculture. You know, India after independence, what is the first problem we faced? So we were not able to provide food for the people who are there in India. Food scarcity. India suffered with food scarcity. Now at that time, now scientists started thinking like how to improve the yield, because most of the land became barren land. It's not suitable for cultivation. Now in that limited constraint where fertilized land is there, there itself you need to improve the yield, double the yield, triple the yield, 4 times you need to improve the yield. Then came Swaminathan, MS Swaminathan, who is father of Green Revolution in India. So he started Green Revolution in India. Then he thought like, okay, let me for a particular point of time, let me damage the soil, but then people are dying because of hunger. I need to fill their stomach first. Then he started using pesticides, insecticides, all chemicals he started using to kill the pest, to kill the insect, so that the farmer will get the yield. Okay, so using these chemicals to kill the pests and insects, adding fertilizer to the soil to increase the mineral content in the soil is called as agrochemical based agriculture. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Right. Now can I erase this? So we got independence in 1947, right? After that, when did Green Revolution start? In mid 1960s. Now with Green Revolution, so with the help of Swaminathan, we were able to triple the crop yield. means if we are able to produce 100 kgs, it became 300 kgs per hectare. So with the help of green revolution, we were able to triple the crop yield. But then again, that is not sufficient to meet the increasing human population. So with the help of green, first let us go with agrochemical based agriculture. Under this we are talking about, under agrochemical based agriculture, we are talking about M.S. Swaminathan. Who is he? Father of Green Revolution in India. He is father of Green Revolution in India. Now, Green Revolution started in India in mid-1960s. With the help of this Green Revolution, we were able to triple the crop yield. We were able to triple the crop yield. But this is not sufficient to meet the demands of human population. But still not sufficient. But it is still not sufficient to provide food for increasing human population. But still it is not able to meet the demands what human population is increasing. So then what did they started doing? The improve in yield. Let us talk about few more points about Green Revolution. The increase in yield is partly due to, little amount of increase in yield is due to improved crop varieties. It is due to improved crop varieties, but it is mainly due to better management practices. Better management practices. What do you mean by better management practices? Using pesticides and insecticides and fertilizers. Better management practices include use of pesticide to kill the pest, use of insecticide to kill the insect, use of fertilizer to enhance the soil quality. So insecticide will kill the insect. Pesticide is a chemical which kills nematodes and all the pests, pathogenic pests. So mainly the increase in yield is because of better management practices, but it is only partly due to the improved crop varieties, right? But for a country like India, which is a poor country, which is a developing country, then farmer, without selling his crop, can he afford buying this pesticide, insecticide, fertilizer? It is very expensive. He can't buy. Okay, if he is not able to buy, if he use the conventional crop breeding program, can he get the yield? He is not able to get the yield. Now then NCERT asks us, is there any alternative? Farmer, it is very expensive for the farmer to buy all these chemicals, agrochemicals. And the second thing, if he chooses not to buy and if he chooses conventional crop breeding, he is not getting any yield. So is there any alternative in between so the farmer can get benefited? Let me write down that. For farmers of developing countries, for farmers of developing countries, buying agrochemicals is an expensive task. It is an expensive task, and if they use? If they are using, instead of buying chemicals, if they are using conventional breeding experiments, if they are using conventional crops, then no much yield. They cannot improve the yield. Now then came the second approach. What's the second approach? Organic farming. This is agrochemical based agriculture. Now by doing this, we were able to triple the yield. But then what happened? Think, ecosystem got damaged, environment got damaged, air got damaged, soil got damaged because of the pollution, because of the chemicals what we have added. So at one point of time, what happened? Soil, air, water, everything got polluted, amma. Soil, air, water, everything got polluted because of these chemicals, because of agrochemicals. Now anyway, we had to switch. We can't continue, we cannot damage the ecosystem further. Farmer cannot buy, that's the other thing. So then came the second approach. What's that second approach called? It's called organic farming. Take a screenshot, we'll talk about organic farming also. Right, now can we go to the second approach? The first approach we completed, agrochemical based crop agriculture, done by Swaminathan, used insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers to improve the yield. Did he improve? Yes, ma, he improved 3 times, he improved. Then, now what is the second one? Organic farming. This is the first approach. The second approach is organic farming. Now, after doing that agrochemical based approach, we came to one point. So, we are not supposed to further damage the air, water, soil which already got polluted. Now, switch on. Now, we switched on to organic farming. In organic farming, what do? Instead of using fertilizer, we can add cow dung also, which is a manure, which is equivalently potent like the fertilizer. So, use of manure. Use of manure instead of, now come on, tell me, instead of fertilizer. Farmer need to buy cow dung or it's available in the village? It's available. So, it's good for the farmer. Then, good for the soil also. Now, instead of using the normal borewell water, we can use rainwater harvesting. Rainwater is a good source of minerals and it is pure water. So, use of rainwater instead of borewell water. This is another thing in organic farming. And instead of using insecticides and pesticides, why can't we use predators like ladybirds, then dragonflies and all, which will eat off the insects? So then you need not spray a chemical, you need to close your mouth and mask and all, spray and all those things, not expensive at all. So you can write use of predators. Use of predators to control pests and insects. Instead of, so we can use predators to control pests and insects instead of pesticides and insecticides. Instead of buying pesticides and insecticides, use predator. So what are the examples I given for predator? Ladybird will eat of many insects. Dragonfly also will eat of many insects. So now this is what is called organic farming. So going with better management systems. What is better management system? Instead of using a chemical fertilizer, go with a manure. Instead of using the borewell water which is having hard water, go with rainwater harvesting. Instead of buying pesticides and insecticides, introduce the predators. The predators will control the pests and insecticides. and then we can integrate farming. We can do integrate farming like honeybee harvesting also we can do. So pollination will be done. So integrated farming practices. Integrated farming practices means rearing out cattle, so you can use the grass there, and introduction of honeybees. We can honeybee cultivation. So at one stretch, so from whatever waste is here, we are using this. Whatever waste of cattle we are using here. This is called integrated farming practices. This is what is called organic farming. By doing this, you are able to improve the standards, the quality of the food, the quality of the soil you are improving, but we are not able to improve the quantity, right? So, however, with organic farming, we are able to increase the standards of the soil, right? We are able to increase the standards of soil. We are able to increase the standards of the food. Now, if you spray chemicals and all, and if the people don't wash it, then it causes cancer. So, in that way, we are able to improve the standard of the food. We are able to improve the standard of the soil, means reducing the pollutants and all. But we are not able to increase the yield. We want to increase the yield also. Then comes the third approach. What is that? Genetically engineered crop-based agriculture. So, take a screenshot. We will continue. Now, understood, ma? Now, let's go with the third one. What is the third approach? It is genetically engineered crop-based agriculture. Now, are we covering the all points of NCERT pinpointedly? Word to word, sentence to sentence? That is what it is. Now, the third one is called genetically engineered crop-based agriculture. Now, this is the third and the last approach. Now, what do you mean by genetic engineering? Now, for a red marker, okay, for a red marker, if I keep a black cap and inside refill is blue, so I manipulated it. Inside it is blue, the nib is red, the cap is black. So this is what is manipulation, alteration. Okay. So now in plants also we do, in animals also we can do, we can manipulate the genes. So then manipulated plants to our wish, so that it produces more proteins, more productive. So that it becomes resistant to the pest or insect. So genetically modified plants or animals or bacteria or fungi, what are they called as? They're called GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Come on, tell me, what do you mean by GMO, genetically modified organisms? They are nothing but genetically modified organisms. How do you modify them? We manipulate their DNA to our desire. Means we manipulate. What do you mean by manipulate? Alter, change. So we alter the genes to our wish to get desired product. To get desired product, we alter it. Since we are talking about agriculture, we will see if the plants are genetically modified, what are the advantages. So these 5 points I am going to tell now are very, very important points. So what are the advantages of genetically modified crops? Let's see. What are the advantages of genetically modified crops? Let us see point by one, and I am telling that this is very, very important. The first point is Now these genetically modified plants are made tolerant to abiotic stress. So let me write down the genetically modified plants are made tolerant to abiotic stress. What do you mean by abiotic stress? So gaining resistance against heat, cold, drought. So the genetically modified plants, they tolerate any temperature. So heat tolerant they are. They tolerate any cold temperature. They can tolerate extreme dried conditions, drought conditions. They can also tolerate saline conditions. Normal plant, if you start watering with salt water, it will die. But if it's a genetically modified plant, nothing will happen to it because it is tolerant to abiotic stress. Normal plant, if you pour ice water, it will die. But nothing will happen to genetically modified plant. That is the first point. Come on, tell me, what's the first application of genetically modified plant? They are tolerant to abiotic stress like heat, cold, drought and salinity. Next one is reduce dependence on genetically modified plants have reduced dependence. NCERT has used a word called reliance, means dependence only. Has reduced dependence on chemical pesticides. Genetically modified plants, they have the genes which can kill the pest. They have the genes which can kill the pest. Now you need not go to the shop, buy a pesticide, spray it on the plant. So when the pest is coming, so it eats this chemical what you sprayed and the pest will die. There are inbuilt genes in the plant itself which are toxic for the pest. So genetically modified plants have reduced dependence on chemical pesticides. Why, ma? Because pest killing gene is already inbuilt. We did it. Okay. So if you want some examples, nematode resistant tobacco is an example. Nematode resistant tobacco plant we produced. I am going to teach you this in detail in a concept called RNA interference. Okay. Then next one we can tell another example, nematode resistant tobacco. Yes, next one is insect resistance. Insect resistant BT cotton. Insect resistant BT cotton. Another thing we can tell like fungal resistant potato. Fungal resistant potato. Bacterial resistant tomato. Bacterial resistant tomato. Okay. So there is some nematode which infects the tobacco leaves. So to kill the nematode, you introduce the genes. There is an insect which infects the cotton. You introduce the gene into the cotton plant which will kill the insect. There is a fungus which infects the potato plant. You introduce the gene which can kill the fungus. Same manner, there is a bacteria which infects the tomato. You introduced a gene which kills the bacteria. So that's it. So what is the first application of genetically modified crop? The first application is genetically modified plants are tolerant to abiotic stress. Second one is genetically modified plants have reduced dependence on chemical pesticides. And the third one is helps to reduce post-harvest losses. Helps to reduce post-harvest losses. Now, we plucked the tomatoes from an agricultural farm. We kept it inside the tractor. From village, they are coming. It might take whole night. Next day morning, they will reach the market yard. Now, we know about ethylene. Ethylene is a ripening hormone. If one tomato is ripened there inside that whole lot, it starts releasing ethylene. By the time morning comes, like most of the tomatoes will get ripened. Now, raw tomato will be thick, but ripened tomato will become soft. When it becomes soft, when it is moving on the road and all, what happens? They get crushed off. So that is what is called post-harvest losses. At the time of harvesting, they are very much good. but when it comes to the market, meanwhile during the transportation, harvest loss has happened. Now if the tomatoes are very good, you will keep your fingers, hands inside and you will take it. If it is rotten, if it is broken, we don't prefer buying such type of tomatoes. That's what is called post harvest loss. But now through biotechnology, through this genetic engineering, we were able to prepare a tomato variety which is brucey resistant variety. Means it will not perish. That's the meaning of brucey resistant variety. And the name of the variety is Flower Sware tomato. What is the name of the variety? The name of the variety is Flower Sware tomato. Now, actually I told in the raw tomato, it releases raw tomato when it has to get converted to a ripened tomato. When it has to get converted to ripened tomato, it needs to prepare an enzyme called poly-beta galacturonase enzyme. Poly-beta galacturonase enzyme, which is produced by this tomato, will break off the pectin content. Pectin degradation. So, raw tomato has pectin. That pectin will get degraded by an enzyme called poly-beta galacturonase. When that pectin gets degraded, then that hard tomato becomes soft tomato, then it gets ripened. Now, when we want to make the tomato be hard itself, it should not get ripened during the transport. Means we want to increase the shell life of tomato, right? So, we want to increase the shell life of tomato. We want to increase the ripening time. So, that means we don't want the poly-beta galacturonase to act, so that the pectin content should be there. It should not be degraded. So, for that we have prepared a variety Flower Sware tomato, where we will make this poly-beta galacturonase gene inactive. There ended the story. The poly-beta galacturonase enzyme becomes inactive. When the enzyme is inactive, pectin is not degraded. That means the tomato remains hard itself, raw itself. Then post-harvest loss will not happen till it reaches the market. Shell life increased. So, this is the third application, children. Take a screenshot, we will continue. In the first application, genetically modified plants are tolerant to abiotic stress like heat, cold, drought, salinity. In the second application, genetically modified plants have reduced dependence on chemical pesticides because pest killing genes are in them. We introduced it. Third one, genetically modified plants, they will reduce the post-harvest losses. One example, we took Flower Sware tomato, in which we have inactivated the poly-beta galacturonase gene. So, pectin will remain. So, the shell life will increase. Take a screenshot. Right. So, can we talk about the fourth point now? What is the first application? Reduce dependent on, the first application is resistant to abiotic stress. The second one is reduce dependent on pesticides. The third application is help to reduce post-harvest losses. Let's go with the fourth application. Fourth application we can tell like increased efficiency of mineral usage by the modified plant. Increased usage of increased efficiency of mineral usage, we will write. Efficiency of mineral usage by genetically modified crops. Genetically modified crops have well established root systems. They penetrate deep into the soils and they absorb nutrients from the lower layers first. So that means they will absorb nutrients first from the lower layers, and it helps to prevent the early exhaustion of the nutrients. Since it is absorbing from the lower layers, upper layers minerals will be there. So increased efficiency of mineral usage by the genetically modified crops prevents early exhaustion of minerals from the soil. So since it is taking from the bottom layers, from the upper layers minerals will not get exhausted. So this is the fourth point. Next point, we can tell nutritional quality of the genetically modified crops can be enhanced. So we can write down the nutritional quality of genetically modified crops can be enhanced. Okay, now let's take a good example under this. Golden rice. What is the plant? It is golden rice. Actually, rice is a poor source of vitamin A. Normal rice is poor source of vitamin A. Now, but in India, people's staple food is rice only, and common man eats too much of rice only. They can't afford buying green leafy vegetables and fruits which are rich in vitamins. Now, then what happens? They will get vitamin A deficiency. Since they eat only rice, which is poor source of vitamin, so vitamin A deficiency causes night blindness. Vision is reduced, it causes night blindness. Now, Indian government thought of this plan, and they started introducing the beta carotene genes, vitamin A genes into the rice. Then that rice appears golden in color, and it is called as golden rice. In golden rice, we are introducing beta carotene genes. Beta carotene means which codes for vitamin A. 3 genes we need to introduce. 2 genes are taken. From where did we take 2 genes? From a plant called daffodil. 2 genes are taken from a daffodil plant. And 1 gene is taken from a bacteria. 1 gene is taken from a bacteria called Erwinia. 1 gene will take it from a bacteria, Erwinia, and 2 genes we will take it from daffodil plant. All these 3 genes are coding for beta carotene, and we will introduce these beta carotene genes into the rice, and we will get a genetically modified rice which is called golden rice, which is enriched. Golden rice is enriched in vitamin A. How many times it is enriched? 37 times. 37 times we have enriched vitamin A content in golden rice. So, which prevents night blindness. So, we are able to eliminate this vitamin A deficiency. What is that called? Night blindness. So, what we have discussed, the 5 points of genetically modified crops. The first one, reduced dependence on chemical pesticide, and the second one, reduced dependence on chemical pesticide. First one is they are made abiotic stress tolerant. Second one is reduced dependence on chemical pesticides. Third one is they reduced post harvest losses, and the fourth one is increased efficiency of mineral usage, and the fifth one is enhancing the nutritional values. Golden rice is an example. This is about introduction to the chapter. In the next topic, we are going to talk about insect resistant plant, how to produce BT cotton. So any comments, kindly post them in the comment box. If you like the content, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.